Every night, my mother would take honey and smear it all over my body. Soon, the sound of fluttering wings came from outside, followed by tens of thousands of butterflies bursting in. In an instant, they covered me entirely. From then on, no matter where I went, butterflies would always surround me. Such a miraculous sight quickly caught the attention of many important figures, including Pei Yonha, who was still the crown prince then. Relying on this unique scent and her grace the Empress's affection, I became Pei Yonha's crown princess. Later, I became his Empress. I dutifully fulfilled my role, gentle and virtuous, managing the inner palace in perfect order. I stabilized his empire, and became the most qualified wife and Empress, just as he said. But it wasn't until the day I died of illness that I saw the coldness behind his favor. Right before I passed away, ministers and concubines knelt all over the floor, bowing to see me off. Only my husband, Pei Yunha, didn't show up, because consort Shu, the woman he held dearest, lost her kitten, and was crying her eyes out. As the dignified ruler of a nation, for the sake of his beloved, he personally went to look for a cat. The cat was found, but it was injured. In the moment right before I drew my last breath, Pei Yunha was still watching the imperial doctors treat the cat. He only had a eunuch pass on a few words to me. You have always been a qualified wife and Empress. If there is a next life, I will still choose you. Rest in peace. I will personally oversee your funeral. Noble consort Cui Luoyao, who fought with me her whole life, mocked me with disdain. You're too soft. Don't be the Empress in your next life. Let me do it instead. I didn't expect her words to come true. When I opened my eyes again, we both returned to the day Pei Yonha chose his crown princess. The Empress pointed at me affectionately, and asked Pei Yonha for his opinion. But I pushed Cui Luoyao forward instead. Your Grace, Miss Cui is more suited for the position of crown princess. The Empress hesitated a little, because Cui Luoyao came from a family of military generals. Her temper was uncommonly fierce. Meanwhile, my Jiang family were scholars for generations. The daughters were all incredibly docile. Compared to Cui Luoyao, I was much easier to control. But Pei Yunha didn't care at all. Anyone could be the crown princess. Indeed, if he couldn't marry his beloved as his primary wife, wasn't anyone else just the same? Pei Yunha's beloved was named Lu Mengyun. She was consort Shu from my previous life. She was an orphaned girl, because during Pei Yunha's frustrated youth, Lu Mengyun accompanied him for a few drinks. Pei Yunha then treated her as his salvation, loving her to the core, intensely and passionately. Unfortunately, Lu Mengyun's status was too low. The Emperor and Empress refused to let her be the crown princess. Pei Yunha had no choice but to compromise, and accept the Emperor and Empress's arrangement, to form marriage alliances with the Cui and Jiang families. Seeing that Pei Yunha agreed, the Empress couldn't say much more. She turned to look at me and Cui Luoyao, reminding us just like in my previous life, you two must discuss this well. General Cui and Chancellor Jiang are both pillars of the court. The Cui and Jiang families must never let a children's marriage cause a rift. I understood the Empress's concerns. Since childhood, Cui Luoyao and I both admired Pei Yunha. Although our upbringing kept us from openly falling out, we were secretly at each other's throats. In my past life, after Pei Yunha chose me as his primary consort, and Cui Luoyao as his secondary consort, she constantly fought with me for favor. Faking illnesses and miscarriages were everyday occurrences. It was just that my temper was mild, so I didn't care to bicker with her. Unless things went too far, I would only scold her a few times. Now that I've lived again, knowing Pei Yunha's true feelings, I naturally wouldn't fight with Cui Luoyao over him anymore. I calmly answered the Empress. Rest assured, Your Grace. I have already discussed this with Miss Cui. We will absolutely not hold a grudge against each other over this. The Empress nodded in satisfaction. Then I will have the Ministry of Rights prepare the proposals. In 3 days, the Crown Prince will personally welcome you both into the Eastern Palace. I didn't refuse, because I knew very well that for the Jiang family's foundation to be stable, we must align with the Crown Prince. This point, Cui Luoyao understood as well. That's why someone as proud as her, who had sworn since childhood never to be a concubine, chose to swallow her pride in our past life, and become the Crown Prince's secondary consort. Even though we both admired Pei Yunha, before that, we were still the legitimate eldest daughters of our families. Compared to our families, Pei Yunha could only rank second. Cui Luoyao and I complied with the Empress's words. Just as we were about to leave, we suddenly heard Pei Yunha make a request. Mother, in 3 days, I wish to marry Mengyun at the same time. The Empress knew how to avoid suspicion. The Crown Princess is already decided. Future matters of taking concubines should be decided by Luoyao. Cui Luoyao was different from me. She was used to being straightforward, although she played little tricks like faking sickness in the past life. As soon as Pei Yunha asked, she would honestly admit it. Moreover, she wasn't one to shirk responsibility. As long as it was within her rights, she would exercise them with peace of mind. So, right after the Empress spoke, she asked Pei Yunha, Your Highness may marry Lady Lu, but what will her status be? Pei Yunha replied without hesitation. A secondary consort, naturally. In the past life, after I was set as the Crown Princess, Pei Yunha also brought this up. I thought it was the first time Pei Yunha had made a request of me, and not wanting to disappoint him, I nodded and agreed. Except back then, we all thought Pei Yunha wanted to marry Lu Mengyun, to repay her kindness. We didn't know she was the person he cherished most, nor did we know Lu Mengyun was extremely jealous. Her fight for favor chilled the hearts of everyone in the inner palace. Cui Luoyao was one of those disheartened people. After being reborn, she naturally wouldn't allow this to happen again. She rejected it decisively. Ningjin is Chancellor Zhong's daughter, and she is only a secondary consort. With Lady Lu's background, if she were on equal footing with Ningjin, not only would the whole world laugh, it would easily chill the Jiang family's heart. Pei Yunhe was suddenly stunned. Although Cui Luoyao was famous for being fierce, she was uniquely gentle toward Pei Yunhe. Yet now, as soon as she became crown princess, she changed. Pei Yunhe naturally saw her as someone greedy for wealth and status. He couldn't help but frown and mocked. Io, aren't you being too petty? In my eyes, a military general's daughter is not considerate or magnanimous enough. This primary consort position is better suited for a civil official's daughter. Ajin, what do you think? Pei Yunhe was just like this. He didn't care which of us loved him. He cared even less about whether our actions made sense. All he wanted was an obedient and docile person who could tolerate Lu Mengyun and tolerate his reckless behavior. When I looked up again, I met Pei Yunhe's expectant gaze. I understood what he meant. He wanted me to snatch the crown princess position myself. That way, even if others gossiped, they would be gossiping about me. But this time, uncharacteristically, I didn't let him manipulate me. Instead, I respectfully lowered my eyes and politely declined. Your Highness is too kind. I will keep it in my heart. But Miss Tui's words and actions are entirely proper. No one could find a fault in them. I am completely convinced, and have absolutely no reason to fight her for it. Pei Yunhe trembled all over. So angry his face flushed, but he could only remain speechless. The Empress waved her hand tiredly and said, enough, here. I don't care who is primary and who is secondary. Discuss it among yourselves. I only have one requirement. The Eastern Palace must form marriage ties with the Cui and Jiang families. After leaving the Empress's bedchamber, neither Cui Luoyao nor I paid attention to Pei Yunhe. We each headed home, but he stopped my carriage at the palace gates. He wanted to keep persuading me to fight for the crown princess position. Perhaps he was too anxious. He didn't even care about etiquette. With his long legs, he lifted the curtain and entered. I quickly got out of the carriage, lowered my eyes, and said obediently, Your Highness, men and women shouldn't be so close. Whatever you have to say, please say it like this. Pei Yunhe propped up the carriage curtain with one hand. His brow was furrowed so tightly it could wring out water. Ajin, what exactly is wrong with you today? In the past, whether I was sick or injured, you always took care of me personally. Why are you so distant now? Yes, everyone knew how good I was to Pei Yunhe. Since childhood, I accompanied him without a single complaint. He had a weak constitution and got sick very easily. The young me learned a bit of medicine from the imperial doctors, so I could take care of him. Later, during the battle for the throne among the three princes, he suffered countless assassination attempts. Whether it was a minor or major injury, I always stayed by his side without resting. My mother worried about my reputation and advised me against it many times. But in my heart, how could my reputation be more important than his safety? My mother would always shake her head helplessly, saying I was too stubborn. She said in the future, even if Pei Yunhe killed me, my soul probably wouldn't bear to leave him. I used to think the same, until the disappointment in my past life reached its peak. I finally realized that no matter how deeply you love someone, you can still let them go. Your Highness, in the past, I didn't know boundaries, and I ruined your reputation. Now I have figured it out. Naturally, I should avoid suspicion, and think of your Highness's sake. Pain flashed in Pei Yunhe's eyes. He wanted to say more, but his personal guard hurried over, and said in a low voice, Your Highness, this is bad. Miss Lu heard about what happened today. In a fit of anger, she blocked Miss Tui's carriage, and said some provocative things. Miss Tui was infuriated, and is about to punish her. Pei Yunhe exploded with rage. He blurted out, How insolent. I thought he was talking about Lu Mengyun, but I didn't expect his next words to show his blatant favoritism. Cui Luoyao comes from a noble family, after all. How can she punish others over a few words? She is truly arrogant and domineering, and completely useless. It was exactly like this in my past life. No matter whose fault it was, Pei Yunhe would unconditionally side with Lu Mengyun. I couldn't help but feel bad for Cui Luoyao, and feel bad for my past self. And because of this heartache, I suddenly changed my mind. Since I already know it's a fiery pit, why must the two of us jump into it? Watching Pei Yunhe's receding back, I instructed my personal maid, invite my father and General Cui over there together. Lu Mengyun wasn't stupid. She blocked Cui Luoyao in a deserted alley, so no outsiders would see. By the time I arrived, Lu Mengyun was sitting on the muddy ground, burying her head in Pei Yunhe's chest, crying pitifully. Cui Luoyao was sitting on her horse holding a leather whip, looking down at this pair of lovers, with eyes full of contempt. With Pei Yunhe present, Lu Mengyun maintained that harmless appearance. She sobbed, Your Highness, the servants must have misspoken. I didn't provoke Miss Tui. I stopped her, only to beg her for a chance to be with Your Highness. Your Highness also knows that my father is very vain. He said if I can't become the crown prince's secondary consort, I might as well marry a merchant as his primary wife. If Miss Tui disagrees, then Mengyun can only endure the pain and leave Your Highness. Pei Yunhe's face was filled with pain. Ignoring everyone else, he kissed Lu Mengyun's forehead and said, That won't happen. I will never be separated from you, and I will never let anyone bully you. Hearing Pei Yunhe's words, Cui Luoyao couldn't help but sneer. Since Your Highness arrived, you haven't even asked what happened. How can you be so sure I bullied her? Pei Yunha scoffed dismissively. Fine. Then speak. I will listen. Seeing that Pei Yunha still had a shred of reason, Cui Luoyao's expression relaxed slightly. Your Highness. Lady Lu blocked my carriage and was instantly aggressive. She said your Highness only loves her, and that Ningjin and I are both shameless women throwing ourselves at you. She even said that sooner or later, she will replace us. Nonsense. Before Cui Luoyao could finish, Pei Yunha harshly interrupted her. Meng Yun would never say such things. I have known her for years, and I understand her best. She has never coveted wealth or status, nor is she someone who speaks wildly. I think you are just jealous, deliberately driving a wedge between Meng Yun and me. In the past, because of my leniency and tolerance, Lu Meng Yun had lived fairly comfortably, so she was never this sharp before, only playing little tricks to fight for favor. Naturally, Cui Luoyao hadn't realized Pei Yunha was so unreasonable. She stood there stunned, not knowing how to retort for a moment. Seeing this, I stepped forward at the right time. Your Highness, Luoyao was raised by General Cui himself. Everyone in the world knows General Cui's character. What Luoyao says is definitely not a fabricated slander. We understand that your Highness favors Miss Lu. We all understand. But there is truly no need to label Luoyao as a jealous woman. But Pei Yunha was in a fit of anger, and his heart ached for the weeping Lu Mengyun. How could he listen to any reason? His face grew even gloomier, and he dragged me into his scolding as well. Jiang Ningjin, stop acting like you're so considerate. You and Cui Luoyao have never gotten along. Speaking up for her now, isn't it also because your jealous Mengyun has won my heart? I originally thought you were sensible, and suitable to be the crown princess. Now it seems, you're just as narrow-minded as Cui Luoyao. You don't deserve to be the crown princess at all. I was neither angry nor annoyed. I calmly said, then your Highness believes only Lu Mengyun is worthy of the crown princess position, right? Pei Yunha coldly snorted. Of course. If my royal parents hadn't forced me, Mengyun and I would surely be a lifelong couple. Why would I ever marry you too? You too, remember this well. If you ever make Mengyun cry again, I absolutely will not let you off. After saying that, Pei Yunha picked up Lu Mengyun and left without looking back. I smiled bitterly and asked Cui Luoyao, do you still want to be the crown princess and the empress? Before Cui Luoyao could even answer, two figures stepped out from the corner. General Cui was fuming, glaring with rage. He bellowed in a gruff voice. We're not doing this. If His Majesty hadn't pleaded for this marriage alliance, I would never bear to send my most precious daughter to suffer in the palace. General Cui had the temper of a military man, always fiery and impulsive. My father, on the other hand, was much more composed. He stopped him, saying, Brother Cui, mind your words. We have already agreed to the marriage alliance. If we back out now, it would be the crime of deceiving the sovereign. General Cui said in exasperation, Brother Jiang, you're too easygoing. You just saw how that Lady Lu put on an act. In the future, she will inevitably frame our daughters. Are you really willing to let your daughter suffer? My father patted General Cui's shoulder and consoled him. Calm down, Brother Cui. I love my daughter just as dearly as you love yours. But deceiving the sovereign is no trivial matter. We must find a way to have the best of both worlds. General Cui and Cui Luoyao asked in unison. What way? I was personally taught by my father since childhood, so I knew his thoughts like the back of my hand. With just a twitch of his brow, I already knew his plan. So, I spoke on his behalf. Luoyao, don't we both have sisters who give us headaches? They've been full of malicious schemes since they were little. Wouldn't dealing with Lady Lu be a piece of cake for them? My mother passed away early, and my younger sister was born to the second wife. In name, she was also considered a legitimate daughter. Marrying her off wouldn't be considered insulting the royal family. More importantly, to climb the social ladder and cling to the royals. My sister exhausted every scheme to suppress me, turning our household completely upside down. My father had a terrible headache because of it. If we let her marry in my place, not only would it protect me, but it would also fulfill her wishes. Perhaps the family could finally have some peace. As for Cui Luoyao's younger sister, she was born to the same mother, but she was deeply calculating, and had done all sorts of wicked things. Mr. and Mrs. Cui never liked her, and couldn't wait to marry her off sooner. Unfortunately, her bad reputation preceded her, and no one ever dared to marry her. After hearing my words, General Cui's eyes lit up. He clapped his hands and said, Great idea. His Majesty and Her Grace only said that our two families must marry our daughters into the Eastern Palace. They didn't specify which ones. This wouldn't count as deceiving the sovereign. It's a good idea, but neither of our sisters is willing to bow to others. So who gets to be the primary consort? The three of them looked at me, waiting for me to decide. I smiled calmly. Since neither is willing to yield, why not have them both be secondary consorts? Let Lady Lu have the primary consort position. As for whether she can secure her seat, that will depend entirely on her own abilities. After the decision was made, our two fathers went home to prepare. Cui Luoyao and I went to the Crown Prince's mansion. Hearing that we had come to apologize, Pei Yunha was overjoyed. Not wanting to hear his high-sounding praises, I interrupted him. Your Highness, after what happened, we both understand Lady Lu's place in your heart. Therefore, the daughters of the Cui and Jiang families are willing to be secondary consorts together. Pei Yunha froze abruptly, and it took him a long while to come to his senses. He asked in disbelief, Really? I nodded emphatically. But since this concerns our family's honor, we beg your Highness to grant us one request. Pei Yunha hurriedly said, Just say it. Since we are to be secondary consorts, There's no need for the Ministry of Rights to send betrothal gifts to save us from being a laughingstock. In 3 days, Your Highness can just come to escort the brides. We can exchange the marriage certificates during the wedding ceremony. Pei Yunhe agreed without hesitation. On the morning 3 days later, Cui Luoyao and I stood shoulder to shoulder on the street, watching Pei Yunhe lead 3 bridal sedans, heading toward the Eastern Palace with a beaming smile. Cui Luoyao stared fixedly at Pei Yunhe's back, and asked curiously, Ningjin, do you think in this life, the Crown Prince and Lady Lu will still get their happy ending? As soon as she spoke, the sky suddenly filled with dark clouds, and pea-sized raindrops fell without warning. I opened my oil paper umbrella, and chuckled softly. Luoyao, the weather has changed. Cui Luoyao linked her arm with mine, squeezed together under the small oil paper umbrella. We felt inexplicably at peace. Cui Luoyao smiled. Ajin, do you remember the first time in our past life we shared an umbrella? I nodded, and calmly recalled. Of course I do. The second month after we married into the Eastern Palace, the Crown Prince stayed in my room to fight for his favor. You ran out into the heavy rain and got completely soaked. You wanted to use catching a cold to drag him away from me. After the palace maids told me, I went out to look for you. I held an umbrella for you. And you even accused me of fake mercy. Cui Luoyao scratched her head awkwardly. I was really blinded by jealousy back then, thinking we were on equal footing. Why did you get to be the primary consort? Seeing the raindrops falling on her shoulder, I tilted the umbrella a bit more toward her. Looking at the tilted umbrella, Cui Luoyao suddenly choked up a bit. Ajin, that time, just like today, half of your body got wet for me, but I didn't notice. Not only did I not restrain myself, I stubbornly fought with you for a lifetime. Thinking about it now, I was truly foolish. I couldn't help but laugh out loud. If I told you the truth, you'd feel even more foolish. Want to hear it? Cui Luoyao nodded without hesitation. I was foolish for a whole lifetime anyway. What do I have to fear? Only then did I speak. Actually, the Crown Prince didn't stay in my room that night. You sought out the wrong person, and cried at the wrong grave. I had never told you about this matter. In the past life, Lu Mengyun married into the family with us. But Pei Yunhe was afraid that doting on her too much would invite jealousy from the 6 palaces and reproach from the Empress Dowager. So he begged me to be their shield. He even knelt before me, with red eyes, and said, Ajin, you are the most sensible, the most magnanimous. Mengyun has a weak constitution. She can't bear any grievances. Help me. I swear, in the future, apart from my heart, I will give you everything. Everyone thought he spent every night in my room. Little did they know that every time the lights went out, he would quietly slip out the back window to keep Lu Mengyun company under the stars and moon. The reason I was willing to help him was because I truly loved him back then, and also to secure my footing in the Eastern Palace and be a strong pillar for my family. So I chose to swallow my pride, bearing the false reputation of monopolizing his favor, and enduring the overt and covert attacks from you and the other palace women. I had also hoped that my magnanimity and sacrifices would make Pei Yunhe realize my worth and look back at me, but it turned out to be an empty dream. Until I was on my deathbed, he didn't even come to see me once. He only sent a lukewarm message. You are very good. After hearing my words, Cui Luoyao's back stiffened. She looked as if she had been struck by lightning. Tears instantly welled up in her eyes and rolled down her cheeks. Her throat bobbed for a long time before she hoarsely let out, I'm sorry. I didn't know. I really didn't know you suffered such a great injustice. I calmly held her hand. Ayo, you don't need to say sorry. Before I died, you were able to set aside our past grudges and stayed by my bedside to keep me company. I already knew then that you never truly hated me. We were both just pitiful people trapped by that man, and trapped by that imperial city. Cui Luoyao finally wiped the corners of her eyes. She took a deep breath, and once again regained the cheerfulness of a general's fierce daughter. Alright, let bygones be bygones. In this life, neither of us owes the other anything. Ajin, what are your plans next? What about the Duke of Qin's estate? Looking at the gradually stopping rain, a genuine smile tugged at the corners of my mouth. Yesterday, my father already took me to a matchmaking meeting with the Duke of Qin's eldest son, Qin Mukin. Cui Luoyao's eyes widened in surprise. She grabbed my sleeve. That fast? How was it? How was it? That Qin Mukin is a famously aloof scholar in the capital. Is he easy to get along with? In my mind, the scene from yesterday resurfaced. The first time I saw Qin Mukin at the Qin family's villa, he wore a moon-white long gown, standing beneath the green bamboo. His posture was as straight as a pine tree. Seeing me approach, he put down the scroll in his hand. His gaze was gentle and clear. He wasn't acting high and mighty like Pei Yunhe. Instead, he bowed to me with utmost propriety. Miss Jiang, I know that this marriage was initially meant to resolve the difficulties of our families. His voice was as warm and smooth as jade, yet it carried a reassuring power. But since I have accepted it, it is absolutely not a trifling matter. If you are willing to marry me, in this life, I will certainly not let down your deep affection. I only wish to live in marital harmony with you, and stay together until our hair turns white. There was no scheming. There was no exploitation. There was only candor and respect. At that moment, my heart, which had withered in the deep palace for 1,000 years, miraculously felt a trace of fluttering. I pulled back my thoughts, and looked at Cui Luoyao. I think he's very nice. I'm ready to marry him. This time it was my turn to be surprised. Upon hearing this, Cui Luoyao instantly beamed with joy, and clapped her hands, saying, "It seems those two old men really planned this together. My father also set me up on a matchmaking meeting yesterday, with the Duke of Qin's second grandson." Qin muting. I exclaimed in surprise. Right? That guy is practically a block of wood. Although Cui Luoyao sounded disdainful, she couldn't hide the smile in her eyes. Yesterday during the meeting, without saying a word, he directly unsheathed his sword and shoved it into my hands. Blushing, he said, "Miss Cui, I'm clumsy with words, and I don't know how to sweet talk. If you marry me, and I ever bully you in the future, just use this sword to hack me. Isn't that hilarious?" Listening to this, I couldn't help but laugh out loud. Qin Muting's blunt and straightforward nature was indeed a perfect match for Cui Luoyao's fiery temper. "So, we're going to be sisters-in-law?" I teased. Cui Luoyao waved her hand dismissively. "All right then. Since you've agreed to marry, I'll marry him too. In the future, at the Duke's estate, we'll have each other for company, and continue to wreak havoc in the Qin family's inner courtyard." We acted as soon as we decided, to prevent any unexpected changes. That very afternoon, Chancellor Jiang and General Cui took action personally. They brought us to the Duke of Qin's estate, and formally exchanged the Botsy documents and marriage certificates. With this officially established, ironclad bond, even if the Heavenly Emperor himself came, he couldn't tear us apart. At night, to celebrate the joy of the marriage alliance, the three families gathered in the back garden of the Duke's estate for a banquet. Glasses clinked throughout the feast. Qin Mukin sat beside me, occasionally serving me food and soup. His behavior was incredibly considerate. On the other side, Qin Muting was being force-fed drinks by Cui Luoyao. The two of them even started playing drinking games, making the elders roar with laughter. Just amidst this harmonious and joyous atmosphere, the steward of the Duke's estate suddenly stumbled in to report, his face deathly pale. "My lords and ladies, His Highness the Crown Prince, leading the Eastern Palace Guards, has stormed over aggressively." Calculating the time, He Yunhe should be in the Eastern Palace right now, with his precious darling Lu Mengyun, and our two sisters who married in our place, consummating the marriages. The reason I thought this was because on this day in my past life, He Yunhe didn't even bother lifting my or Cui Luoyao's bridal veils. He impatiently rushed into Lu Mengyun's room. We both wore our heavy wedding dresses, alone in our empty bridal chambers for the whole night. When dawn broke, I only received a casual explanation from He Yunhe. He said he got drunk last night, wandered into a room at random, and fell asleep. Naturally, I didn't believe him, but I chose to turn a blind eye, and didn't expose his lie. I even helped him deceive Cui Luoyao, who had also waited all night. Probably because of this, He Yunhe was convinced that I was a submissive pushover. From then on, he comfortably used me as his shield. But this time, I don't know what went wrong. He actually lifted the veils early, and discovered the brides had been swapped. As I was pondering, He Yunhe had already kicked open the main doors of the Duke's estate's main hall, and strode in. His eyes were bloodshot red. He was still wearing the bridegroom's pure gold hair crown, and his crimson wedding robes flapped loudly in the night wind. Behind him, followed three women also wearing red wedding dresses. Lu Mengyun, who was pale with fright, and Jiang Ningyi and Cui Luowan, who looked full of resentment. He furiously scanned us as we peacefully ate our meal. His gaze was fiercely pinned on Cui Luoyao and me. He demanded, "Jiang Ningjin, Cui Luoyao, you two sure have a lot of nerve. How dare you have someone marry in your place? What do you take me for? A monkey? Good thing I had a sudden whim tonight, and wanted to give you two a warning first, so I lifted the veils early. Hurry up and switch back. You're two sisters. I don't like them." Hearing these words, the two younger sisters trailing behind, instantly had utterly grim expressions. Terrified of losing the prize they had just grasped, they blurted out in unison, "The marriage certificates have already been exchanged at the Eastern Palace, and the wedding bows have been made. How can your highness just cast us aside like this? There is no precedent for the royal family to return a new bride." He Yunhe gave a cold, disdainful snort, not even bothering to spare them a glance. "Do you really think your sisters are genuinely trying to help you? They are merely throwing a tantrum against me. To put it bluntly, you two are just bait. Bait to make me regret. Bait to make me jealous. The moment I say the word, they will immediately kick you aside." The second miss of the Cui family, Cui Luowan, had a fiery temper. She glared resentfully at Cui Luoyao, grinding her teeth as she asked, "Big sister, is what his highness said true? Is that what you really had in mind? Playing me for a fool?" My half-sister, Jiang Ningyi, also had red eyes from anger. "Sister, I call you sister out of respect. If you're just using me to get the crown prince's attention, I, Jiang Ningyi, will absolutely not let this go." Seeing them so ungrateful, and daring to question us in public, Cui Luoyao's temper flared up instantly. She jumped up, ready to lash out. I held her down, shot Qin Mukin a reassuring glance, and then slowly stood up. I pulled the two younger sisters to a corner of the hall. Looking into their hostile eyes, I lowered my voice and said earnestly, "Io and I truly dislike you both. Growing up, you've tripped us up countless times, but at the end of the day, we are still sisters of the same clan. We share the same glory, and the same ruin. If we really wanted to use you as bait, why would we risk implicating our families in the crime of deceiving the sovereign? And why would we cut off our own retreat?" Seeing them still half in doubt, I took out from my sleeve the freshly stamped, blindingly red marriage certificate, and unfolded it before their eyes. Open your eyes and look closely. This is our marriage certificate with the Duke of Qin's estate. Black words on white paper, with heaven and earth as witnesses. If we really wanted to use you to test the crown prince, why would we agree to marry someone else? The royal family is hard to enter, but is the threshold of the Duke's estate any lower? The two of them stared fixedly at the marriage certificate. After confirming it was real, they looked at each other in dismay. After a long while, the hostility in Jiang Ningyi's eyes slowly dissipated. She asked tentatively, "Sister, are you two really stepping aside for us? Do you really not love the crown prince anymore?" I nodded without hesitation. My gaze was as calm as water. Not only are we stepping aside, but the chancellor's and general's estates will be your biggest backers in the Eastern Palace from now on. We will protect you for a lifetime. But the premise is, you must agree to one condition. Facing this overwhelming temptation of wealth and power, the two of them nodded vigorously in unison. Name it, sister. As long as we can secure the position of the Eastern Palace's secondary consort, let alone one condition, we'd agree to 10 or 100. I leaned closer to them, lowered my voice, with a tone as cold as ice. No infighting. In the Eastern Palace, you only have one target. Jiang Ningyi's mind worked the fastest. She rolled her eyes in thought, and was the first to react. Her gaze immediately shot toward Lu Mengyun, who was shivering in the distance. Sister, do you mean Lu Mengyun? I nodded in satisfaction. The crown prince loves her madly, treating her as his very life. As long as she is in the Eastern Palace, don't ever expect to have a peaceful day. But if she were gone, or if she lost his favor, or made a grave mistake, with your backgrounds and the chancellor's and general's estates behind you, no matter how dissatisfied the crown prince is, would he dare to treat you poorly? This crown princess throne will sooner or later be yours. The two finally saw the light. Jiang Ningyi patted her chest, her eyes gleaming with excitement and ruthlessness. Understood. Rest assured, sister. Dealing with this kind of little vixen who plays weak is not a difficult task for us at all. In the inner courtyard, I have 100 ways to make her wish she were dead. The key is, you must first figure out a way to make the crown prince accept us tonight, and let us rightfully stay in the Eastern Palace. I patted her shoulder, offering her a pill of reassurance. Don't worry, we came prepared. Tonight, the crown prince will not take us away. Seeing us whispering in the corner for so long, Pei Yunhe had long grown impatient. He strode over, shoved the two younger sisters aside, and urged, Ajin, are you done talking? If you're done, hurry and return to the palace with me. For the sake of your fathers, I can overlook your nonsensical crime today. I stood up, firmly shielded the two younger sisters behind me, and calmly met Pei Yunhe's possessive gaze. I slowly spoke. Your Highness, Her Grace the Empress's decree only stated that the Jiang and Cui families must form a marriage alliance with the Eastern Palace. It never specified who exactly must marry into it. Ningyi and Luowan are also proper legitimate daughters of the chancellor's and general's estates. They are proficient in zither, chess, calligraphy, and painting. They do not shortchange your Highness. Furthermore, a few days ago at the Eastern Palace, Io and I only told your Highness that the daughters of our two families were willing to both be secondary consorts. But we never personally said that the ones marrying would be us. Your Highness must have made a preconception and misunderstood. Pei Yunhe's back stiffened. He frowned deeply and carefully recalled the conversation in the study that day. Indeed, from beginning to end, we only ever said the daughters of the Cui and Jiang families. We never once mentioned the names Ningjin and Luo Yao. For a moment, he was caught by my wordplay and didn't know how to retort. But his pride as the crown prince and the immense humiliation of being played by a few women made him extremely unwilling to concede. He arrogantly raised his voice and shouted angrily, So what if I misunderstood? I am the crown prince, the future ruler of the world. I order you, switch back with them right now. In this great Qin empire, whoever I want, it must be her. How audacious. Before I had time to reply, the Duke of Qin, sitting in the seat of honor, could finally sit still no longer. This elder, leaning on a dragon-headed cane, a white-haired veteran minister of 3 reigns, suddenly struck his cane heavily against the floor. It let out a loud bang. What a grand display of authority, Your Highness. Are you intending to, right in front of this old subject, snatch away my newly betrothed granddaughters-in-law? Though the Duke's voice was aged, it was full of vigor, exuding a commanding aura without being angry. The Duke of Qin once fought alongside the late emperor to conquer the empire, holding the golden whip capable of striking royals. He could strike a foolish sovereign above, and a treacherous minister below. Even the current emperor, upon seeing him, has to politely offer him a seat, and show him utmost respect. Pei Yunhe trembled all over at this angry shout. Though he was arrogant, he was no fool. Naturally, he didn't dare openly clash with this top military figure. His face turned a mix of blue and pale. He could only suppress his anger, respectfully cup his hands, and force a smile, saying, Lord Duke, perhaps you misheard? You are a founding pillar of the empire. No matter how bold I am, I would never dare snatch someone from you. I am merely handling the domestic affairs of the Eastern Palace. Domestic affairs? The Duke of Qin scoffed, and lifted his chin. The tall and slender Qin Mukin, and the heroic Qin Muting immediately understood. The two brothers strode forward, shielding Cui Luoyao and me behind them, one on the left and one on the right. Then, they pulled out the 2 gilded marriage certificates from their sleeves, presenting them to Pei Yunhe with both hands. Your Highness, these are our marriage certificates with the two ladies of the Jiang and Cui families. They have already received the official matchmaker's seal. Please take a look, Your Highness. Qin Mukin was gentle and refined, but his tone revealed an unyielding resolve. He Yunha trembled violently and looked down in disbelief. The bright red official and private seals on them were like sharp knives, brutally piercing his eyes. The next moment, his expression drastically changed, and he staggered half a step back. He didn't dare question the highly respected Duke of Qin, nor did he dare vent his anger on the Qin brothers. He could only turn his bloodshot, angry, and bewildered eyes, and glare fiercely at me, the one who always had the softest temper, and had always been totally obedient to him. Ajin, did you two plan this all along? Otherwise, why rush to get engaged today? Are you seeking revenge against me? Or are you playing hard to get? He was like an enraged, trapped beast, growling in a low voice. Meeting his gaze, I gave a faint smile. My tone was as warm as the spring breeze, yet as cold as a blade's edge. Your Highness overthinks. Io and I have long had mutual affection for the two young lords of the Qin family. Our elders have long had the thought of forming a marriage alliance. Originally, due to Her Grace the Empress's bestowed marriage, for Your Highness's sake, we were even prepared to endure the pain and abandon these deep feelings. But that day, at the palace gates, for Miss Lu's sake, Your Highness personally said that if you couldn't marry your beloved, anyone could be the crown princess. Since in Your Highness's eyes, we are just replaceable ornaments, why should we wrong ourselves and betray the true hearts of the young lords of Qin? Therefore, we made a new choice. I paused, feigning sensibleness and magnanimity as I took a step back. But it's fine. The Cui and Jiang families have always been loyal and patriotic. Imperial orders cannot be disobeyed. If Your Highness insists on breaking up our relationships and forcing us into the Eastern Palace, then we sisters will just go break our engagements tomorrow. At worst, we'll just let down the Duke of Qin's profound kindness and ruin our own lifelong reputations. As soon as I said this, it put Pei Yunha directly over the fire. If he forced us to break our engagements right now, not only would it confirm the bad reputation of snatching subjects' wives and bullying meritorious officials, branding him a tyrant, it would also directly offend the unfathomable Duke of Qin's estate, which held more than half of the court's civil and military power. For him, who was still trying to secure his position as crown prince, and desperately needed to win over court officials, this would be a fatal blow. Pei Yunha's breathing became extremely heavy. He clenched his jaw fiercely, the muscles in his cheeks trembling violently from the force. Though he was fuming with rage, he also clearly knew that tonight's silent suffering was something he had to swallow. He clenched his fists tightly, his knuckles turning a ghastly pale. After a long time, he finally suppressed the frustration and anger in his chest. That was on the verge of erupting. Good. Very good. Pei Yunha nearly crushed his teeth, squeezing these words out from between his teeth. Since it has come to this, I won't force you. I wish you and the young lords of Qin a long life together until your hair turns white. With trembling hands, he abruptly turned around, pointing at Jiang Ningyi and Cui Luowan, who had been standing in the back, observing the situation. He tried hard to take a deep breath, feigning calmness as he tried to salvage his last shred of pitiful dignity. They are also very good. The precious daughters of the chancellors and generals' estates are more than worthy of being my secondary consorts. As long as they know their place and serve Mengyun wholeheartedly, I will absolutely not treat them poorly. I stepped forward, feigned taking my two younger sisters' hands, and reluctantly gave them a few words of warning. Once you enter the Eastern Palace, you belong to the royal family. You must mind your words and actions. Serve the crown prince and secondary consort Lu well. Do not ruin the reputation of the Jiang and Cui families. But in my heart, I couldn't stop sneering. These two ancestors who, back at home, could beat a maid half to death over half a bolt of shoe brocade, and fought like rabid fighting cocks all day long. Once they go to the Eastern Palace, how could they possibly stay in their place? Lu Mingyun's good days are completely over. When seeing them off at the door, Pei Yunha remained silent. With a dark face, he extremely roughly yanked Lu Mengyun onto his carriage, and then rode away into the distance. The two sisters were startled by this rough action. Standing in the cold wind, watching the carriage leave a trail of dust, their eyes almost shot out flames of jealousy. Seeing this, I slowly walked up to them, gathered Jiang Ningyi's wind-blown cloak for her, and reminded them in a low voice. You two remember, never overestimate your weight in the crown prince's heart, and certainly don't underestimate Lady Lu's tactics. The crown prince loves her madly. He favors her extremely. You are just entering the Eastern Palace, and your foundation is unstable. If you clash head-on, or make a move directly against Lady Lu, it will only anger the crown prince. In the end, not only will you fail to win his favor, you might not even keep your lives. I looked at their thoughtful faces, and continued to guide them. So, don't rush. Dealing with a woman who has deeply won his heart requires a slow, steady, and indirect method, borrowing a knife to kill. You must let her make mistakes on her own, and make her lose that flawless disguise in front of the crown prince. After hearing this, the two sisters felt as if they were enlightened. They immediately reined in the resentment on their faces. Jiang Ningyi adjusted the jewels on her head, a determined sneer curling at the corner of her mouth. Rest assured, sister. In poetry, books, etiquette, and big picture thinking, we might not match you. But playing mind games in the inner courtyard, playing tricks, or even striking from the shadows, we are the masters of that. We will definitely let Lu Mengyun know. That being a secondary consort in the Eastern Palace. Isn't that easy? I smiled calmly, and took a half step back. Then I wish you victory from the start. If you encounter any difficulties needing outside help, just send someone with a message. As long as it doesn't implicate our family's reputations. Your older sisters will do our best to help. Although Cui Luoyao secretly looked down on her half-sister. For the sake of their family's grand plan, she went along with it, and hummed in agreement. Only then did Jiang Ningyi and Cui Luowan truly realize that Cui Luoyao and I were genuinely scheming for them. The two suddenly felt a bit guilty. They lowered their heads, and said in unison, "Sister, for how we acted back at home. We're sorry." I shook my head, and patted their shoulders. No need to say sorry. We are sisters bound by blood. No matter how much we fought, in this capital full of schemes, we are still in the same boat. Protect yourselves well. Staying alive is the most important thing. Watching the Eastern Palace's carriages take them away, vanishing into the night, Cui Luoyao finally let out a long sigh. She turned to look at me. "Ajin, you're too soft-hearted. How they tried to harm us at home. How they tried to poison us. And ruin our reputations. Have you forgotten?" I turned around, and walked shoulder to shoulder with Qin Mukin into the Duke's estate. Smiling calmly. I haven't forgotten. But their glory or ruin now is tied to the Jiang and Cui family's foundation in court. The superficial pleasantries we need to do, the support we must show, we have to do them thoroughly. Only if they secure their footing in the Eastern Palace can our two families rest easy. Cui Luoyao finally nodded. True. Wicked people are ground down by other wicked people. I just don't know if their amateurish inner court scheming skills can actually outmatch the deeply calculating Lu Mengyun. But you know, I'm actually quite looking forward to this Eastern Palace drama. As I held her hand, I said softly, "No rush. Battles in the inner palace are never decided in a day or two. Let's just watch it unfold slowly." Life after marriage was unexpectedly peaceful and warm. Qin Mukin truly acted as he promised before the wedding, treating me like a precious treasure. He wasn't like Pei Yunhe, using all sorts of rigid rules to demand I be a perfect crown princess. On his days off, he would accompany me in the study, grinding ink and lighting incense, appreciating rare ancient books together. When I caught a cold, he would stay by my bedside without resting, personally brewing my medicine. Meanwhile, Cui Luoyao and Qin Muting, that bickering couple, turned the Duke's estate completely upside down. Qin Muting was a martial arts fanatic, often dragging Cui Luoyao to spar on the training grounds. When they fought in earnest, Cui Luoyao would chase Qin Muting all over the courtyard with a red-tasseled spear. The Duke of Qin wasn't angry. Instead, he was so amused his beard twitched. He said this was the vitality a military family should have. Here, we enjoyed what we had never experienced in the deep palace in our past lives. The true warmth of a home. Meanwhile, at the same time, the Eastern Palace, just as we had predicted, had long turned into a treacherous battlefield. Sure enough, we waited for a year and a half, and finally got a piece of incredibly satisfying gossip. It was an early summer afternoon. Qin Mukin returned from court. As I helped him change his clothes, he lowered his voice, and brought news that shocked the entire court. "Ajin, something major happened in the Eastern Palace. 2 months ago, the Crown Prince went to Mount Tai to offer sacrifices on His Majesty's behalf. He brought secondary consort Lu, along with our 2 sisters from the Jiang and Cui families. Who knew that halfway there, a group of rebel remnants from the Succession War suddenly struck, setting an ambush to take the Crown Prince's life?" My hands paused slightly. I raised an eyebrow. Oh, what was the result? A meaningful glint flashed in Qin Mukin's eyes. The guards fought hard but were outmatched. The Crown Prince was severely injured. In that life or death moment, it was your sister Jiang Ningyi and Cui Luowan who stepped forward without hesitation, desperately fighting to protect the Crown Prince as they broke through. To block a hidden arrow for the Crown Prince, Jiang Ningyi took a sword to the chest, nearly piercing her heart and killing her. As for Cui Luowan, while fighting the rebels, the tendons in her hand were severed. Although their lives were saved, Cui Luowan's right hand is completely ruined. She can never lift heavy objects again. I gasped. Those girls, to fight for favor and climb the ranks, they really are ruthless to themselves. What about Lu Mengyun? I continued asking. This is the climax of this drama. Qin Mukin gave a cold laugh, his tone full of disdain. That secondary consort Lu, who usually pledges undying love and deep affection to the Crown Prince, the moment the rebels struck, was scared out of her wits. Not only did she ignore the Crown Prince's life or death, she ran off alone in the chaos, and hid inside a very well-concealed cave. It wasn't until reinforcements arrived, and the danger had completely passed, that she ran out of the cave, threw herself onto the Crown Prince, crying her heart out, and acting all concerned. The Crown Prince looked at the Jiang and Cui sisters, who were covered in blood, and on the verge of death, and then looked at the completely unharmed Lu Mengyun, who was only crying. The Crown Prince's heart, at that moment, went completely cold. Qin Mukin said, after returning to the capital from Mount Tai, Pei Yunhe never stepped foot in Lu Mengyun's room again. Not only did he bestow the most precious supplies of tonics from the storehouse upon the 2 sisters who risked their lives to save him, he even took the authority to manage the Eastern Palace, straight out of Lu Mengyun's hands, and handed it over to the newly recovered Jiang Ningyi. The relationship between those two dropped to a freezing point. Later on, after Jiang Ningyi's injuries healed, When she was granted special permission to visit home, she personally, vividly reenacted the whole scene for me, seeing her pale face, yet with an irrepressible look of triumph between her brows. I dismissed the servants, and personally poured her a cup of tea. These rebels, their timing was just too coincidental. You two arranged it, didn't you? Looking at her with a half smile, I softly voiced my certainty. Jiang Ningyi's hand holding the teacup paused slightly. Then, she scratched her head very awkwardly, leaned in close to me, and whispered with a smile, "Big sister is truly brilliant. I can't hide anything from you. Those weren't remnants from the succession war at all. It was just Cui Luowan and me. We liquidated all our dowries, and spent a fortune on the black market, hiring desperate bandits to pose as rebels. Though I was mentally prepared, I was still so shocked by their audacity, that I broke out in a cold sweat. Are you crazy? If the bandits lost control, and killed the crown prince, or if you couldn't control your own injuries, that is a crime of treason punishable by exterminating 9 generations." But Jiang Ningyi waved it off nonchalantly. Her eyes sparkled with crazy ambition. Wealth and rank are sought in danger. Sister, you have no idea. Over the past year or so, the kind of life we've lived in the Eastern Palace, the crown prince only had eyes for that wretch. When we went to pay our respects, she punished us by making us kneel in the snow. Our monthly allowances were deducted by her under various pretexts. If we didn't take drastic measures, we would sooner or later be tortured to death by her in the Eastern Palace. These bandits are mercenaries who kill for money. They have professional ethics. That sword stab and that slash. We calculated the positions beforehand, and moved into them ourselves, even though it hurt like hell. Compared to this immense favor and the crown prince's guilt, it was totally worth it. I shook my head. This level of ruthlessness, Cui Luoyao and I truly couldn't learn in our past lives. Then what about Lu Mengyun? Based on what I knew of her in my past life, even though she was selfish, she did have some true love for the crown prince. In that kind of dangerous situation, even if she was terrified, she wouldn't completely ignore the crown prince's survival, and go hide by herself, right? I continued to ask. Jiang Ningyi gave a thumbs up, showing immense admiration for me. Sister, you really can predict everything like a god. Of course she didn't hide in there by herself. In Jiang Ningyi's eyes, flashed a look of extremely wicked satisfaction. It was Cui Luowan. She secretly kept a few trusted assassins. When the bandits burst out, and the scene was at its most chaotic, the assassins took the chance to knock Lu Mengyun out, forcefully dragged her away, and used drugs to hide her in that cave. When the reinforcements arrived, the assassins woke her up and let her out. Lu Mengyun was completely confused at the time. She ran out and desperately explained to the crown prince, saying someone had knocked her out. But the scene was in chaos, and there were no witnesses. Where could she find any proof? The crown prince saw the two of us bleeding rivers to save him, and then looked at her completely unharmed. Naturally, the crown prince thought she was shifting the blame, craven and cowardly. He even, right in front of the imperial guards, slapped her hard across the face, and angrily cursed her as a selfish, vicious woman. Acting with hindsight. Hearing this, I felt a wave of satisfaction in my chest. The pent-up resentment from my past life seemed to completely dissipate with the scent of tea at this moment. As expected, wicked people need to be dealt with by other wicked people. To deal with someone like Lu Mengyun, who habitually plays the victim, and uses love to manipulate others like a green TB*TCH, you have to use these more ruthless, more irrefutable physical tactics. Then what's next? What are your plans? I blew on the tea leaves, and asked casually. Jiang Ningyi subconsciously stroked her flat stomach. Her eyes grew extremely dark and cruel. Next, naturally, we press our advantage, force her into a corner, so she can never turn things around. Sister, Cui Luowan and I have spent heavily to completely buy off 2 imperial doctors in the Eastern Palace. We are taking a special drug that can create a highly realistic illusion of a pregnancy pulse. We're preparing to announce to the public that we are both pregnant with the crown prince's child. Not only that, we also had our trusted maids spend all day outside Lu Mengyun's courtyard, casually gossiping, saying the crown prince is grateful for us saving his life, and since we are both pregnant, he intends to depose her as the barren primary consort, and appoint one of us in her place, so the child can be born nobly as the legitimate eldest son. Lu Mengyun was already extremely panicked and paranoid over losing favor. Now, hearing that we're going to replace her, and give birth to the crown prince's eldest son, with her narrow-minded and jealous nature, she absolutely won't be able to stay calm. Jiang Ningyi sneered, her tone like a demon from hell. As long as she dares to make a move, to taint our anti-miscarriage medicine or our food, even the slightest bit, we will immediately act up, faking a horrific miscarriage, and firmly pin the crime of murdering royal heirs on her. When that time comes, with irrefutable evidence, and her caught red-handed, even if the crown prince still has her in his heart, even if he wants to protect her, facing the heinous crime of murdering a royal heir, and the wrath of the Empress Dowager, and the Emperor, he absolutely won't be able to save her. I quietly listened to this intertwined, utterly ruthless scheme, without saying much. I just took out from a box nearby an extremely precious century-old ginseng, and handed it to her. Be careful. When faking it, don't ruin your own health, I calmly instructed her. Jiang Ningyi gratefully accepted the ginseng, and nodded emphatically. Then, as if she remembered something, she looked up, and looked at me very seriously, asking, Sister, once Lu Mengyun is dealt with, I want to, in this Eastern Palace, have a real fight with Chui Luowan for the true position of crown princess. What do you think? My hand holding the teacup paused slightly. I had already guessed her thoughts. And not just her. I also knew very clearly that Chui Luowan of the general's estate, that ruthless woman who didn't hesitate to ruin her own hand for power, definitely thought the same way. After all, ambition and greed were etched into their bones. It couldn't be changed. But so what? Chui Luoyao and I no longer cared who ruled the Eastern Palace. As long as Lu Mengyun, that first love, was dead, the scales in Pei Yunhe's heart would completely shatter. To balance the court's factions, towards Jiang Ningyi from the Chancellor's estate, and Chui Luowan from the General's estate, he would absolutely have to maintain a delicate balance. Just like how he treated Chui Luoyao and me in our past lives. No matter how they fought. To the death in the inner courtyard. Pei Yunhe, to secure both families' support, would choose to turn a blind eye, and play the role of an exhausted peacemaker. Regardless of who won or lost, he wouldn't dare mistreat the Jiang or Chui families. Our families could prosper all the same. So I didn't stop her. Instead, looking her in the eye, I calmly reminded her, i.e., Chui Luoyao and I are now sisters-in-law, and even more so, best friends. If you truly want to fight it out, with Chui Luowan in the Eastern Palace, as a married daughter, I won't oppose you. But remember this, I will absolutely not mobilize the resources of the Duke's estate or the Chancellor's estate to help you. Your slaughter in the Eastern Palace is your own choice. You bear all the consequences yourself. Think it through. Jiang Ningyi understood what I meant. She showed no dissatisfaction. Instead, with extreme confidence, she eagerly nodded. All right. Don't worry, big sister. My fight with Chui Luowan is a private matter between us, relying on our own abilities. Win or lose, I will absolutely not implicate you or the Jiang family in the slightest. After sending off the fiercely ambitious Jiang Ningyi, Chui Luoyao came to find me, carrying a box of pastries. Unsurprisingly, when Chui Luowan returned to the general's estate to visit, she also mentioned her intent to fight for supremacy in the Eastern Palace. Chui Luoyao picked up a piece of osmanthus cake, stuffed it into her mouth, and shook her head with a sigh as she chewed. Ajin, you really had the foresight to warn me in advance. You told me absolutely not to stop her, just let her do as she pleases. But I'm puzzled. If we could persuade them to live in harmony and avoid infighting, so everyone could peacefully enjoy wealth and glory in the Eastern Palace, wouldn't that be better? I put down the scroll in my hands, shook my head, and gave a meaningful smile. Io, you think too simply of human nature. First, ambitious people who have tasted the sweetness of power cannot be persuaded by us. If you forcefully stop them, not only will they not be grateful, they will resent us for blocking their path to greatness. Secondly, I looked out the window, at the brightly blooming peonies, my gaze deepening. If we don't let them turn the Eastern Palace completely upside down and plunge it into chaos, how would Pei Yunhe ever remember our gentleness and goodness from our past lives? Only in the utmost pain and exhaustion will he understand what he truly lost back then, and just what an invaluable treasure it was. One afternoon a month later, the sun was scorching like fire. Chui Luoyao and I were sitting in the pavilion in the Duke's estate's back garden, cooling off. The brothers, Qin Mukin and Qin Muting, who had just returned from court, hadn't even had time to change out of their official robes before they came over together, looking grave. They brought news that shocked the entire inner palace. Ajin, Io. Qin Mukin gulped down some herbal tea and lowered his voice. Something happened in the Eastern Palace. Something huge. Just yesterday, Lu Mengyun went to visit the pregnant secondary consorts Jiang and Cui. Less than half an hour after she left, the two consorts suffered unbearable abdominal pain in their bedchambers and suffered horrific miscarriages. The imperial doctors rushed there overnight. In the 2 bowls of anti-miscarriage tonics personally delivered by Lu Mengyun, they found a massive amount of lethal abortifacients like safflower and musk. The evidence was irrefutable. She was caught red-handed. The 2 secondary consorts tragically lost their beloved children and nearly died of severe hemorrhaging. They cried until they fainted. Qin Mukin sighed. Although Pei Yunhe was nearly crushed by this sudden tragedy, he loved Lu Mengyun to the bone after all. Even in that situation, he still clung to their past affection. He knelt outside the Emperor and Empress's bedchamber, trying to exonerate Lu Mengyun, claiming she was framed, hoping to spare her life. But how could the Emperor and Empress tolerate a vicious woman who plotted to murder royal heirs? The Emperor was instantly furious and fiercely scolded the Crown Prince for being incompetent. The Empress even directly issued a decree, forcefully stripping Lu Mengyun of her title as Crown Princess, demoting her to a commoner, and immediately throwing her into the heavenly prison. Qin Muting sneered from the side, chiming in. That's not all. Early this morning, just as the sky was getting light, the Emperor bypassed the Crown Prince and directly sent his most trusted head eunuch, carrying a cup of poisoned wine and 3 feet of white silk, to the prison. In the prison, Lu Mengyun was still crying and screaming to see the Crown Prince, refusing to die no matter what. In the end, she was forcefully held down on the ground by several burly old palace maids, who ruthlessly strangled her to death with the white silk, forcing her to commit suicide to atone for her sins. I heard. By the time Pei Yunhe got the news and rushed to the prison, Lu Mengyun's body had already grown stiff, holding her cold corpse in front of all the jailers. He cried his heart out, nearly fainting. He didn't even attend the morning court today. He locked himself in a dark room in the Eastern Palace, refusing to see anyone. Hearing this, I couldn't help but let out a long sigh in my heart. The crown prince truly did hold her dearest to his heart, in both past and present lives. No matter what wicked things Lu Mengyun did, no matter how selfish and cowardly she was, Pei Yunha's love for her never waned in the slightest. It was just a pity that this twisted, blind favoritism ultimately not only killed me in my past life, but also killed Lu Mengyun herself in this life. Cui Luoyao, however, couldn't hold back her inner satisfaction. She excitedly slapped the stone table and sneered. So what if he held her dearest? Aren't they separated by life and death now? This is exactly what she deserves. I really want to see, having lost this first love he'd protect with his life, how our deeply affectionate crown prince will spend the rest of his life facing those two even more ruthless sisters, and how he'll survive. Time flew by like a fleeting shadow. In the blink of an eye, several years passed. The more time passed, the more I let go of all those past grudges and resentments. In the Duke's estate, I had a husband who loved me dearly, and a pair of adorable children. Life was peaceful and happy. As for Pei Yunha, I had long treated him as an irrelevant stranger. Even during the grand annual palace banquets, I would specifically find excuses to ask for leave, or sit in the most remote corners, resolutely avoiding any contact with him, because I felt that, since this rotten thread was already severed, it should be cut cleanly, without leaving a single trace. However, even if I didn't go looking for trouble, trouble came looking for me. Much later on, the old emperor passed away. Pei Yunha, as the sole crown prince, naturally ascended the throne as emperor, becoming the supreme ruler of the great Qin dynasty, to balance the court, and to maintain absolute fairness. After Lu Mengyun's death, Pei Yunha made an extremely rare decision. At his coronation ceremony, he did not establish a central empress. He completely bypassed the primary wife position, and simultaneously promoted Jiang Ningyi and Cui Luowan, putting them on equal footing. He titled them Noble Consort Shu and Noble Consort De respectively, to co-manage the 6 palaces. However, this superficial balance not only failed to bring peace to the inner palace, but instead became the fuse that ignited endless warfare. Both Jiang Ningyi and Cui Luowan were arrogant, fiercely ambitious women. Neither was willing to bow to the other, to fight for the vacant empress throne, and to give birth to the legitimate eldest son who could inherit the empire. The two of them waged a brutal, horrifying inner war in the palace that lasted for decades. Today you put mercury in my food. Tomorrow I bribed the imperial doctor to add sterilization drugs to your calming incense. They turned the entire inner palace into a foul, bloody, and stormy battlefield. Those young concubines who newly entered the palace, if they showed even a little prominence or gained the emperor's favor, within half a month, they would either inexplicably drown, or suffer miscarriages and go mad. And the most terrifying part was, in this endless, brutal slaughter, due to the long-term mutual harm from various insidious drugs, not only could the other concubines not have children, but even Jiang Ningyi and Cui Luowan themselves completely ruined their own bodies, becoming permanently infertile. Pei Yunha, this supreme, untouchable emperor, throughout his entire 20-year reign, was literally left entirely childless by these two vicious women. Not a single surviving prince or princess. Yet ironically, Pei Yunha was helpless to stop it, because behind Jiang Ningyi and Cui Luowan stood the powerful chancellor, and General Cui, who commanded heavy military forces. The court's power structures were deeply intertwined. Pulling one hair would move the whole body. For the stability of the empire, Pei Yunha could only choose to swallow his broken teeth, and turn a blind eye to their wicked deeds. And so, he was trapped in this resplendent golden cage, sinking into endless torment and agony. He spent his whole life pursuing so-called true love, his whole life tipping the scales of his heart. But in the end, he lost the wives who truly understood him. He lost his beloved first love, and even lost, as a man, the most basic ability to pass down his lineage. On New Year's Eve of his 45th year, a grand imperial banquet was held in the palace, hosting all the court officials. As first-rank ladies of the Duke's estate, Cui Luoyao and I were naturally invited. At the banquet, Cui Luoyao and I wore our luxurious noblewoman attire, sitting with our husbands and children, harmonious and joyous. The room was full of laughter and cheer. Yet Pei Yunha, sitting high upon the 9-dragon golden throne, was emaciated and gaunt, his hair completely white. He looked a full 10 years older than his actual age. Beside him sat the equally haggard noble consorts, who were still slaughtering each other with their glares. As the wine flowed and the rounds continued, Pei Yunha's gaze pierced through the dense palace veils, extremely complicated, and utterly desolate, as it landed on Cui Luoyao and me, looking at the genuine, happy, and contented smiles on our faces, looking at the extremely natural, unguarded care and respect the Qin brothers showed us. The hand Pei Yunha used to hold his wine cup began to tremble violently. His eyes instantly turned red. A streak of cloudy tears slipped down his aged cheek, silently, dripping into his cup of bitter, strong wine. I knew, at this very moment, he was finally, completely, and agonizingly consumed by madness from his regret. He finally understood that what he had personally pushed away back then were not just the two women most suited to be wives, but rather, in his absurd life, the only possible chance he had to attain true peace and happiness. It was just a pity that in this world, there has never been a cure for regret. This long and agonizing remainder of his life is the heaven's response to all his bias and coldness. In his past and present lives, the cruelest atonement and punishment bestowed upon him